Okay, recording this video after close of trade Friday, 15th of April 2011. Hope you had a good day's trading today. Closed up at 13.19, only about 1.3 million contracts traded. Still think we're a couple of days away from a low being confirmed on better sine wave. We've got the cyclical turn to happen, and then we need kind of price confirmation. So I actually think we're going to head back down to test 1300. If you look at the 40,500 tip bar chart, we've come into this zone which previously has been support for this kind of topping out move, and so will probably end up being resistance. If I were to kind of review the numbers here, it's probably about 2022 is the better kind of area to find resistance rather than 18 to 20, but we'll see. We've kind of overshot this cyclical turning point a little bit on the 40,500 tip bar chart after the low yesterday at 12.98 being marked quite nicely with this end of trend. If I go down to the 13,500 tip bar chart, I think what we're in is kind of a upward sloping kind of consolidation type pattern, and go down to the 4,500 tip bar chart. You can see over the last couple of days, this is the open on Friday and the open on Thursday, we've just been batting backwards and forwards between these cyclical highs and lows, and for me that's kind of a complex correction type pattern after a trending, the end of a downtrend move being signaled on Thursday. Today's activity I found quite difficult to trade. We had all of these exhaustion buying and selling signals at the beginning of the day, probably to do with kind of options exploration and so on, but we had these kind of fairly big swings. For me, the most important thing is this exhaustion kind of signal that's going to go off on the 4,500 tip bar chart once we get some overnight activity on Sunday. This will be an exhaustion buying signal at this point. So for me, in this complex correction kind of move, we've had these kind of exhaustion buying signals, a little bit, we had exhaustion selling at this point, and that propelled the market on. But we've started to roll over in terms of having a flushing signal, flush pattern at the top here at 19, with all these blue professional bars coming into this turning point, and bearish divergence at this point. We've sold off, and then we've come back up to test those levels and exhausted in terms of the buying volume. So for me, that's kind of exhausting this move on the upside, and so it's likely kind of turned down. If you look at the other markets today, for me the bond market was really interesting. The 30-year bond market, we had a rally in the bond market. I've been talking about a potential bottom being formed here, and this has really been taking its time after we kind of topped out at the beginning of the year in terms of the end of last year at the bond market. We've kind of been selling off and just generally trying to find some strength over the last few months here, and you can see all these blue professional bars kind of coming in. I talked about this a couple of videos ago, that we'd come into this 118 level, stopping volume patterns, no supply. Would have liked to have seen kind of some professional activity, blue bars on the way down here, but on Friday's activity the bond market strengthened. I'm just wondering if the bond market is strengthening before the equities market kind of starts to sell off again. And you can see on Thursday's trade we had a blue professional bar kind of got broken to the upside. Not a particularly great pattern here. If you see it, if I'd seen that on the downside move here and then a continuation of this break, I'd feel a lot better about this move. But just to point that out, that the bond market was going up today when the stock market was going up, and that's kind of not been the typical pattern over the last couple of years. And then in terms of the dollar index, we're sitting at this absolutely critical level at 75 that has been support over the last so many years, and it's going to break one way or the other. If we have a sell-off in equities and money moves into the bond market, the US dollar will strengthen, and that's what the bond market was kind of signaling with today's activity. The dollar index really wasn't doing anything much of going anywhere. Gold, interestingly, and silver both were making new highs, and so that would suggest they were seeing kind of weakness in the US dollar. But when you look at the chart, it wasn't actually going anywhere much. But just be aware that on Monday the bond market has started to move. I'm kind of seeing on this 4,500 tip bar chart the end of maybe a complex correction sloping upwards here with exhaustion buying at this point. So we could be starting to see the continuation of this move to the downside and finally putting in that cyclical low. Just as I said before, we need to see going back up to the T1500 tip bar chart, this was the exhaustion selling that we set this move off. We need to see a similar type exhaustion selling signal on the downside to end this move. So that's kind of my bias at the moment. Hope you enjoy your weekend. I'll tag on my day trades. A little bit kind of bumpy for me. Was doing the same thing as I was trying to do yesterday, Thursday. I was trying to go long at the beginning of the day when we were kind of finding a little bit of a top and kind of rolling over. Kind of interesting. Got it. Managed to turn it around. But it's funny how you repeat patterns, even as close as a day away from each other. Anyway, enjoy your weekend. I just got long at 13.25. Just checking my stops and targets. Reason for getting long on the 500 chart. Come up to previous resistance level. Looks like it's turning into support. Cyclical turning point coming up. We had a blue professional down bar at this point. Just come up to break the highs of that. There's blue professional bar on 15. I don't like what's going on. I think it's kind of a bit confused on all the time frames here. Could be coming up to an end of trend warning signal that'll coincide with a cyclical turn on the 4500 tip bar chart. But we've had this pretty strong move off 1306 kind of lows overnight. Just wondering if it's going to get a little bit of run through this morning. Anyway, long 13.30.25. Okay, just went reversed and went short at 12.75. Half point loss on that first trade. Really was trying to get a little bit cute. It's formed the end of trend warning on the 500 tip bar chart. We've got a cyclical turn on the 4500 tip bar chart. Blue professional bars, exhaustion buying. Kind of bearish divergence here. The reason why I think this end of trend is good is we kind of had our exhaustion buying kind of with the data releases earlier on and into the open, so we shouldn't have to really technically kind of wait for second cyclical turn. Got bearish divergence here, 1500 tip bar chart and so on. So short at 12.75. Edged out at 10.25 for 2.5. And the reason for getting out, just getting a little bit nervous, coming up to this area of kind of previous breakout, could turn into support. Had blue professional bars coming on the 500 tip bar chart and exhaustion selling on the downside. So just a little bit nervous that we're going to find a support here and just kind of rally back a little bit. So out at 10.25 for 2.5. And just to note, the cyclical turn on the 1500 tip bar chart's kind of just come in. So that's another reason to just pull out at this juncture and just wait and see. And consumer sentiment numbers just came out. See the shenanigans that go on. Just volatility in the market. Cyclical support on the 1500 held. Didn't have any blue professional bars kind of down here, but this exhaustion selling signals on the 500 and 4500 tip bar chart that came in kind of showed that move was over temporarily. So they're just going to sit back and wait and see what happens, see how this market kind of settles after this. Okay, and just as we came back into 1450, which is kind of the high after the open, we just turned exponential here on the way up. You can see exhaustion buying. This will be an exhaustion buying signal on 1500 tip bar chart, and keeps on going. These things never end well. Be a question of kind of timing the right way into this, but this kind of just blow off move, just interesting coming into the 15s. Let's see how we're going to play this. Okay, just gone long at 15.25. I know I think this is parabolic move up, but this last kind of move down into a pullback support area, blue professional bar kind of comes in on 500 and the 1500 tip bar chart. It's exhaustion buying at this point, 4500 tip bar chart, but we've not seen blue professional bar right at the highs, and I need to be seeing some kind of amateur topping activity on the 15, kind of amateurs trying to make new highs and Rambo patterns and so on. So it's been a little bit of a sell-off down into this kind of 14 region, so just hoping for a little bit of a pop to the upside, maybe break to a new high, but not going to get greedy because we're overextended here. Just reversed and went short at 14.25. just going nowhere. Got incredibly quiet and slow at this point, and so we've had cyclical turns on the 1500 tip bar chart. Just didn't want to go and kind of push up to a final top. Sometimes you see this, if the cyclical turns happened here on the 1500 tip bar chart and we're in an uptrend on the 15, then you kind of see this going to end of trend. But because the cyclical turn happened later, it's less clear whether this is actually a strong trend at this point, that on the 1500 tip bar chart at least. Anyway, so a little bit of a gamble, didn't pay off. Point loss on that trade, so now just up one, but hopefully we've had exhaustion buying and we'll kind of flip and start trending to the downside. Okay, a few minutes later, sitting through a little bit of retracement here, kind of came down to 1330 and just sat around this level forever. All these Rambo patterns, kind of down bars here. Probably should have come out just particularly when it kind of spiked down here with a blue professional bar kind of coming in bullish divergence at this point. But we've not seen blue professional bars coming on the 1500 tip bar chart. A little bit concerned that we're coming up to a cyclical support here on 15. But this move back up retracement being led by the amateurs, Rambo kind of amateur up bar here, same thing on the 15. And we've still seen this exhaustion buying on the upside. So up at 16 is an important kind of level where a lot of professionals were kind of getting out. So still holding short, still think it's a short move, a down move, kind of just having to sit through a little bit of retracement at the moment. Oh, okay, a couple of minutes later, just I was recording here, cyclical turn, and we just had these really strong down moves, so it was the right thing to hold on to the short. Target's at 1025, and getting close, so that'd be nice if that happens soon. Okay, just came out at 1125 for 3, and the reason coming out a little bit early is it gives me my 4 points for the day, plus just this move didn't feel right. If I just blow this up on the 500 tip bar chart, we've had all these bullish divergence patterns here, and then we kind of spike it back down at this point here, and this really felt like a flush signal. And although it didn't kind of show as a flush signal, that's kind of how it felt to me, just spiking down at this point here. Blue professional bars kind of coming on the 500 tip bar chart and the 1500 tip bar chart. I know the cyclical level is not printed kind of really at the right spot. Just concerned that the amount of selling that we're getting down here is not kind of as extreme. So I just think we're going to find a little bit of support here. Don't have much more to say about it, and just rather take my 3 rather than kind of sit for a little bit more kind of volatility and risk for an extra 1 when I've particularly made my 4 points for the day. Rambo pattern just kind of come in, so this push down 11 was kind of being led by the amateurs. Well, going to watch it for the next 20 minutes and see where it goes, but that's me done for the day. Hope your trading went well.